Hi, I'm Sumitra, and I'm going to be interviewing Marcia Martin, one of our Living in Course facilitators. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Sumitra. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your background. What did you do before coming to the Living in Course work?
Okay. Um, well, I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Odessa, Texas, and then lived for years in the Dallas area. My background is behavioral psychology. I have a master's in behavioral psych and spent years working with autistic children. And I ended up moving to the Florida Keys and worked with a company and basically we did therapy and we used dolphins. Um, I worked with a number of I worked with people from all over the world with just about any disability that you could think of. And I guess my autism was my specialty. And I also did a lot of work with brain injured adults, which was just a joy. It was so wonderful to be able to help people in the water to move. And also we did a lot with developing communication systems. I mean, these are people that hadn't been able to move in years. So it was really great. It was a lot of fun.
Hmm. How
When
when?
I huh?
Go ahead.
No, when I left that company, basically I had 5 families and I knew that if I spent time with those families that I could make a difference with the kids. So I left the company and for the next, I'm going to say 8 or 10 years, just focused on those 5 families. There were 2 in Germany, 1 in England, 1 in New York, and then 1 in Florida. So it's been a fun ride.
That's an amazing story. I'm really curious. Would love to see the work happen. I'm curious how the dolphins were involved in the communication.
The dolphins weren't so much involved with the communication, and really the dolphins, how they participated in a session was totally dependent upon the client.
Uh,
Um, if I had a paraplegic adult, what was so magical about the dolphins is they're these big animals that can move me through the water. And
mm,
for people that have not been able to move for years, that was huge.
mm,
For some kids, they were afraid of the animals. So it was helping kids overcome some of their fears.
uh,
Other kids absolutely loved the animals. So we would actually use the animals or time with the animals, time in the water, as a reinforcer or as reinforcement for communication, developing communication skills. I mean, it really was totally dependent upon the client and what their needs were. And
mm,
the animals were amazing. I mean, I could have one, I have to say I had my favorite. And they would be totally different with every child that you worked with. They might be as gentle as they could be in one session, and the next session they would be acting like teenagers and acting out because they knew what our clients needed.
mm,
They're amazing animals.
mm. What a wonderful background for doing this work now. So, what brought you actually to the Living Inquiries? How did you get to this work?
Well, I was familiar with inquiry. I've been going to India for the last 26 years, and I was familiar with inquiry, but I found that I think I used it to get to that feel good place. I I met Scott at a SAN conference and was asking him about a family member, and his question to me was, "Are you suffering?" And it was just like a hit in the chest. It was like, yes. What the inquiries have done for me, they've helped me to become more intimate with my experience.
Mm,
They've helped me to see and understand my conditioning. a much better understanding of why I've been a caretaker all of my life and what it gives me. Um, it's given me a chance to get to know me.
So a lot of the work has been your own inner work using
Abs-
the inquiries.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, it's a funny thing to say, but it's almost as if every time I facilitate someone else, it almost feels like a facilitation for myself as well. I
Yeah,
mean, the stories are different. I mean, you and I have talked and worked together, and your story is very different than my story. But when you're with someone in that way, the experience is inseparable.
yeah. Anything else you'd like to say about your work with the inquiries? What do you particularly love about it? I guess you've talked about that a little bit already, but just if anything else comes to mind.
Um, I mean, number one, it just is such a beautiful way of being with self and other. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful way of seeing that there really is no self or other at the same time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I can really resonate with that too. Um, and what you just said about the facilitation, even though it's about their story when you're working with a client, that it almost always resonates with something going on inside us as well.
yeah, it,
Yeah,
it
lovely to
does so
talk
for
with
me.
you, Marcy.
It's good to talk to you, Sumitra. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.